One hit, one, to quote Major League, hit. What is up? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back and welcome into the Seattle Mariners post-game recap. The Mariners dropped this one tonight, 4-1 to the Detroit Tigers. They fall to 2-4 on the young season, and they do lose the series to the Tigers. And to avoid being swept, they will have to beat what is probably the best pitcher in the American League tomorrow. The good news is the Mariners make a lot of pitchers look like Tarek Skubal, so maybe it doesn't matter. They only got one hit tonight, so not like Skubal can do much more damage to you. Hope you are all having a great night. As always, do me a favor. If you guys can hit the like button, the Mariners may have struggled, but you guys can still help support the channel. I'll be here for hopefully all 162. There's always life things that come up, but that's my goal. So if you guys can hit the like button, comment your thoughts down below, and don't forget to hit subscribe if you are new. I'm closing on 4,400 subs here on my channel, so thank you all for the support. I'm going to start the video off with a little fact here. So if this does deter you from watching, totally get it. I was unable to watch this game tonight outside of the ninth inning. Had some function I had to be at for my kids and do some family stuff. So didn't watch the game. And if that's something, I totally get it. If you're looking for more of like a breakdown of the actual game, totally understand. Guys, you know how life is, and baseball is a hard one to do. I don't think any of us watch all 162, I was following it, definitely following on the phone. And I'm sorry, I'm not going back and watching that game. I don't have the, what would be the word? Sickness to go back and watch that game again. So if that does keep you from wanting to watch, totally understand. So we'll focus more just on the fact that this is a slow start for the Seattle Mariners. And again, repeating myself, and another game that felt like 100 games last year. I mean, you could turn on any of my post-game recaps for last season, and this was it, right? Starting pitching pretty good, giving up a couple runs early was frustrating from Logan, but settles in, strikes out 10, and the offense struggles to get anything going, gets one hit, gets a run on a sac fly, some terrible at-bats. Then they get a run, but then the bullpen gives that one run right back the next inning. I mean, you could click on 100 videos and find similar frustrations, at any point with this team. And again, not to repeat myself, but to repeat myself, had the Mariners won the division last year, let's say they've had like an Astros track record, I could not care less that they're 2-4. Every team has a stretch where they lose 4-6. They're probably going to have another stretch where they lose 4-6. The frustrating thing is this team doesn't have the goodwill built up. They're not defending AL West champs. They've been in the playoffs in 2 years after breaking the drought. And before that, it was 20. Now, obviously, those seasons before, a lot of them don't fall on Jerry, Justin. It was different ownership, different GMs and stuff throughout the years. So I'm not trying to put everything on them, but you missed the playoffs by a game the last 2 years, and you have an offseason that was not good. So the fans are already coming into this season skeptical. I think we're all excited baseball's back because we love the game, but I don't even think the most optimistic person wasn't skeptical. I'm a pretty optimistic person. I do think this team can make the playoffs, but I'm super skeptical of them. And then to come out on your first homestand and lose 4-6. And let's be honest, barring, some good fortune tomorrow, they're probably going to be 2-5. Like I said, the only saving grace is that they make a lot of pitchers look like Tarek Skubal. So, maybe Castillo happens to be on his game and the Mariners scratch out a run. That's, hopefully what does end up happening. But even 3-4, it's a frustrating start to a season that it didn't need to start out amazing necessarily. But a team and an ownership and a front office and a coaching staff to an extent that needs to get some goodwill with fans, they are not off to a great start doing that. They ran it back thinking that we'll get bounce backs from some guys, and that should help. Jorge Polanco, congratulations to him and his wife. I think she went into labor, so congratulations to the Polanco family. That's why he wasn't in there today. But with guys like that, I think you will see some bounce back. We've already seen it a little bit. Not saying that can't happen, but is it enough? Is it enough to just have, a couple of the guys we relied on last year are a little bit better this year? We'll find out in September, October, but not the start you wanted. Again, 2-4 doesn't bury a team, but it's all we have, right? We've seen 6 games of this team, and they've just been incredibly, incredibly frustrating. They were incredibly frustrating last year. There will be highs. There are going to be highs. There were highs last year. There were moments in the last 2 seasons, despite missing the playoffs, where the Mariners looked like a legitimate contender. Remember, what was it, August of 23, where they ended up coming back and taking the lead in the division. 22, when they did make the playoffs, you had the 14-game winning streak. And then last year, they build up the 10-game lead. So this team, and this, I don't know where it will go this year, if it'll lead to a 10-game lead or whatnot. They will have moments, right? They're going to sweep somebody. They're going to probably win a bunch of games in a row at some point and have a nice stretch. But right now we've seen 6 games and this team has been very unimpressive. Then the other concern is that, you can't let it spiral. You'll start out 2-4 here. Like I said, you're probably, like I said, going to be 2-5. We'll see. Then you go to San Francisco, is playing pretty well. You could play okay and lose 2 out of 3 there. Then Houston comes into town. You can't let it spiral. You can't let it get to that point where it's 3-7, 5-11, 7-15. So I always say, if you can keep it around 500 for a month, even 2 months, you're a 7-game winning streak away, which I think this team is capable of doing, from going, from getting into first place or having that 10 out of 13 stretch. But if you start burying yourself, then that great stretch of baseball only brings you back to 500. Then you got to have another stretch to get you over the top. So hopefully that they find a way to kind of, I don't know what's the word. I don't want to say balance this out, but I don't want to say stop the bleeding either. I don't think they're necessarily bleeding at this point. But they've got to find something to get going. I honestly wonder if opening on the road would have benefited this team a little bit. Rough offseason, fan base that loves baseball. I think it's a very passionate fan base, but it's skeptical. And then you kind of lay an egg in your first homestand. I honestly think this team might have benefited from starting on the road. And then maybe if you can win some on the road and go 4-2, you come home and you have a little bit more energy in that series. So maybe going on the road here after tomorrow and having the off day Thursday will actually help the team a little bit, but then they're right back home after 3 games. So, they played well at home last year, so I'm not saying like that's the reason. But, and we saw stretches last year where this team just felt like they were pressing, right? We talked about all the time where it just feels like they're trying to hit that 10-run home run in every at bat, and it kind of looks like the same. It doesn't so far through 6 games, but we're not seeing that coaching staff make the impact so far. Who knows? They could win 10 out of the next 12, or who cares about this start? But this is all we have to go on, and it has not been impressive so far. Let's look through the box score a little bit, then I'm going to get out of here and keep this one pretty short. Logan Gilbert, 5 innings, 5 hits, 3 runs, 3 earned, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts. Obviously, 10 strikeouts, phenomenal. Great to see over 10 innings. Unfortunately, that hurts the pitch count and gets it high a little bit. I didn't see how those runs were necessarily scored. Looked like they were legit hits, so that's frustrating. But again, 5 innings, 3 earned runs, obviously with the 1 walk, 10 Ks, that's fantastic. So I don't want to say Logan wasn't great. It looks like based on that, he was very good. But even if you want to say the 3 runs is a little high, that's still enough, right? This team should be able to get 3 or 4 runs against the Tigers and hopefully, find a way to win a game. And again, kind of goes back to some of the frustration last year where unless that starting pitcher is perfect, it just feels like you have no chance. Logan should not have 0 chance to win going 5 innings and 3 earned runs in a game. That should be something that very much, they were in the game, but it should be something that you still have a chance to get a W with. Gabe Speier looks fantastic. If we want to look for positives here, Gabe Speier looks absolutely back to 2023. Shutout inning with a couple strikeouts. Really excited for that. There was a point last year before he got hurt where I thought Gabe Speier looked like just a legit setup guy, not lefty, not just something like that, but a guy you can use in the 8th inning. And until Brash and Taylor are ready to go, it sounds like Troy Taylor is close to starting a rehab assignment. That's huge. But until you get him back, I am not against using Gabe Speier in the high leverage spots. He looks back. Still early, but the velocity checks out. It's ticked back up. And the strikeouts have ticked up as well. So that is great news. Gregory Santos, 1 inning, gives up 1 hit, 4 ground balls, doing what Gregory Santos does, throws that power sinker, gets the hitters to pound on the ground. Santos looks really good. Bullpen actually looks pretty decent. Thornton does give the home run in 2/3 of an inning. Again, I think Thornton's fine. I just don't think he's your setup guy. Not that this was a setup situation. But, I think Santos, Spire, and even Snyder might be better options. Maybe even Bizzardo. We'll see. I thought Thornton was fine on Sunday, did what he needed to do, but he kind of seems like Dan's number 2 in the bullpen. And I don't know about that necessarily. I get that it's tricky right now without Taylor and Brash. So, we'll see where that ends up going. But he does give up the home run to Riley Green in the 8th inning. And then Jonathan Diaz comes in. Diaz called up Emerson Hancock to option down. We'll see if that means that they're going to skip a start, if Logan Evans comes up, because unless there's an injury, Hancock can't come back up for 10 days. So his start will come up obviously before then. So we'll see what they end up doing with Emerson Hancock in that situation there. But I think that's the right move. Vargas earned a roster spot yesterday the way he pitched. I'm glad they didn't DFA him after that performance. And truly, Vargas looked good enough with, like I said, the bullpen misses some guys. Hey, give him a shot in the later innings if you need to. But bullpen overall pretty solid today, except for maybe Trent Thornton. But bullpen did its job. Inspire looks back, which is fantastic news for the ball club. One hit, first batter of the game. Victor Robles had a hit. That was it. And they did have 4 walks. Were they hit by any pitches today? Julio was hit. That's right. Julio was hit by a pitch in the 9th inning. Robles 1 for 4, Julio 0 for 2 with a walk and the hit by pitch. So, I mean, Julio on base twice. That's good, but need hits. Cal 0 for 3 with a walk. Randy 0 for 3 with a walk. Rayleigh 0 for 4. Tellez 0 for 2 with the sac fly RBI. I will say that did have an expected batting average of 920. Tigers continue to just make tremendous plays. The AL Central just continues to make tremendous plays against the Seattle Mariners. That could have dropped in, but Rowdy not off to a great start at all. Bliss 0 for 3. Mastroboni 0 for 3. That 500 WRC plus that he had after his one at-bat infield hit against the A's drops down, unfortunately. Can't believe it. I thought Mastroboni was destined to greatness. Sorry, I'm being a little sarcastic there. But Mastroboni 0 for 3 and JP 0 for 2 with the walk. It's awful, right? And not a lot of hard hits either. It was looking up Savant and not much put in play over 100 miles per hour. A better performance last night, but then, they come back out and lay an egg. Mize threw the ball well. He did, 5 2/3 a hit, 3 walks, 6 Ks. Deserves credit. He's a good pitcher, but there's what was my saying? Eventually run out of caps to tip. Not there yet. We're 6 games in. There's 156 of these to go. And if we're going to get super worked up in the first homestand of the year, we're going to need to take a week off at some point, right? Because it's going to really drive us nuts when we get into the dog days of summer. So, listen, again, 2-4 it's truly nothing. If this team had won the division 2 years in a row or coming off a World Series, I wouldn't even care. I wouldn't even care that they're 2-4. I'd be like, guys, whatever. They're fine. This is a great baseball team. They're going to win. It's just we don't know. We don't know what this team is. I don't think they're god awful, obviously. I think we can all agree that this is not the worst team in baseball. I think we'd also agree it's not the best team in baseball, though, either. So they kind of fall in the middle there. Are they 500? Are they the 85-win team they were last year? Are they the 90-win team they were a couple of years before? And, we don't really know where they are. So we see them struggle. We kind of go same old Mariners a little bit. So, and that's on them, right? They have not earned that. I made the analogy yesterday, like if the 2014 Seahawks, and I think they did start 2-3, and it was frustrating, but they deserve more of the benefit of the doubt. They had won a Super Bowl. In fact, I think fans were even kind of up in arms at that, but team like that deserves the benefit of the doubt. The Mariners have not earned that yet. Maybe they will one day. Maybe it's this year. Going into next year, they'll earn it. But as of right now, they don't have it. And they've got to play better baseball because through 6 games, a couple people commented yesterday, the defense. I keep meaning to mention that, but I get hung up on other stuff. Polanco, how long is that going to last at third base? The arm looks terrible. There was a throw he made yesterday that I actually thought he made a nice play on it. Funny enough, the range to me, and maybe the data doesn't back this up, but it looks fine. But the arm strength looks dreadful. Now, it was a play yesterday. I don't think that he could have gotten the runner at first no matter what. But the arm looked like a noodle arm, and, we'll see. Have JP, had a rough defensive year 2 years ago, but was a little bit better last year. Bliss has looked pretty good. That's been encouraging. First base is going to be tough. You do have Ben Williamson down there in Tacoma, who I know some people don't like the bat. That's not my area of expertise in terms of prospects and stuff like that. But man, can he field? He can pick him over there, or not, I guess pick him as first base, but he can field it over there at the hot corner. Maybe there does come a time here when, Polanco moves to DH and you do something at first base and then Ben Williamson's at third. I don't know. I know he's kind of not controversial because of him, but a lot of people don't like the bat. Some people are fine with it. I don't know. I don't know enough about it to say one way or the other. Listen, no matter what, you're going to have to hit a little bit to be an everyday big leaguer. But you also got to prevent the runs, as well. Listen, I'm not out or anything. I'm a little, it's 6 games in and this team is already driving me nuts. I still stand by what I say. I give it a month, but you can't bury yourself either. Reiterate that. If they're 4-16, 7-19 like that, then you've got a problem. If they're, 14-15 or 13-15, yeah, you can come out of that. That's not the end of the world. And let's see where everybody is after April and then kind of make that assertion or, what we think this team needs to do. But just disappointing because we're 6 games in and, you hope for that good start. You want to see your team get off to a good start. Doesn't mean it's the end of the world, but as Mariner fans, we know, right? It looks like the same Mariners. It's hard. I'm not going to argue with anybody that says that they're the same team. So we'll see. Maybe they surprise us, find a way to beat Scooball tomorrow. Be nice to at least finish with a W. It would be a disappointing homestand, but 3-4 I can deal with, especially if you get a win against Scooball somehow. Then go on the road and maybe playing away from T-Mobile gets the offense going a little bit and takes a little bit of the pressure off as well. So you miss Logan Webb in San Francisco. You do get Verlander, Robbie Ray, and I think Jordan Hicks in the third game. So you get 3 guys that can throw. Robbie Ray's always got that 1 inning, but we'll see what ends up happening there. I'm getting ahead of myself for sure. So tough loss. Hopefully they bounce back tomorrow. Not much else I have. I mean, don't give up on the season yet, guys. I can say that it's not over, but it's just a frustrating start. Have a great night, everybody. Like, comment, subscribe, and as always, go Mariners. Peace.